Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so very blessed with this podcast, the people it reaches, the impact it's having. My objective when I started was to simplify spirituality and guide people on their journey. And with the message we receive on a weekly basis, it's clearly doing that. So if you're a regular listener, welcome back. Thank you for listening. This is your first time, well, welcome to the podcast, and I'm glad you could join us. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. I love what I get to do. With all the shifting the planet's going through, and with so many people going through some kind of awakening, I get to guide people and hold their space while they go through the awakening, while they go through a shift. I help to guide people to understand why you're here on the planet, why you chose to be here, what your purpose is, to truly understand you. I love what I get to do. I do that through spiritual mentoring, have a beautiful 12-week program, Akashic record reading, this podcast, so many ways. My voice resonates, reach out. This podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful co-host, introducing the amazing, the stunning, the healer extraordinaire, Stacey Brown. Stacey, over to you. You know I've got to do with that, right?
Hi, friends. So good to be here again. I love this podcast and sharing our voices with you, and I'm hoping that our conversation today will resonate. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. I am also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And I published my first book, Journey to Soul Center, Discovering the Gift of Surrender. It's available on Amazon and Audible. Really looking forward to getting into this topic today, Nims.
Yeah, so am I. And, I'll always say that nothing on this episode or this podcast is scripted. Whatever comes through. And even the topic, a lot of the time we'll feel the current energy and we'll pick a topic based on that energy. And I'm very conscious on this podcast. I talk a lot about the current shift that's happening. I really feel the planet is shifting. Feel like we're shifting from divine masculine to divine feminine. Kind of what I mean by that is the planet is going through a massive shift, shifting from a predominant energy, which is divine masculine, to a much stronger divine feminine energy. And, we've talked a lot about the rise of the divine feminine and kind of what that means to us. But I just kind of felt, what about the divine masculine? We all need balance, right? You need balance between the masculine and the feminine. And this journey one is really about balance. So today I just thought we should talk a little bit about the divine masculine. What does it mean? And because for me, right now, the divine masculine is having an identity crisis and the divine feminine is trying to find itself, which is why, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling like you're not sure what's coming next and you can feel a shift, but you're not sure what it is. If lots of things have been happening to you in a weird sort of way and, you don't really feel connected to who you are anymore, what you do on a regular basis, that's what a shift looks like. And the reality is we all need masculine and feminine energy in us, right? So when I talk about we're shifting more to divine feminine, what I mean really is we're shifting from our head to our heart. And divine feminine is more about the heart, the spiritual side of who we are, which is why I feel like a lot of people are going through a spiritual awakening. It's really about being energy, receptive, intuitive, creative. That's the side that's more divine feminine, nurturing, expressing through more emotion. So it is really shifting from the head to the heart, shifting from I think to I feel. There's that inner knowing that comes from the inside rather than your head. That's why I said it's more about the heart. Old paradigm would have said that don't make decisions from your emotions, make them from your head. The reality is that our head, and I'll talk about divine masculine in a second, is really our history. And if the planet's going through something it's never been before, and you're going through a shift and turning into a person you've never known before, you're not going to get your knowing from your head, because it's your history. You're going to get it from a different space, which is your heart and your head. And this is really what divine feminine, it kind of allows you to tap into you. It's that softness, it's that healing, it's the divine empathy. And what does a wounded feminine look like? Overgiving, passive, emotional overwhelm, people pleasing. That all comes from divine feminine. So what's divine masculine? Divine masculine is all about the head. It's all about, when I say we're shifting from divine masculine, I really mean we're shifting away from the ego. If you look over the last few centuries, it's all about individuals. It's all about the ego. It's all about, these political leaders, and it's like, if you feel the shifting energy, politics shifting, but also the weather on the planet, so much natural disasters. There's so much this is what I mean by the planet shifting. The divine masculine is really about more doing energy, more kind of purposeful movement. So you need both, right? Because you need to tap into the divine feminine to really kind of understand your messages, to hear what's happening on the inside. But you need the doing energy too. Divine masculine is very protective, uses more logic and clarity to express. Like I said, divine feminine is more about the emotional. Divine masculine is very grounded, right? A whole space, but it is very mental, planning, focused, needs to understand what's coming next. And really, we don't, right now, the energy we're in right now, we have limited knowledge of what's coming next. So, which is why the divine masculine is in crisis, because it's used to control, it's used to knowing what's coming next. It's associated with discipline, responsibility. And the wounded version of divine masculine is really trying to control too much, dominance, emotional suppression, the rigidity of not being flexible, and all that. That's what the wounded divine masculine feels like. So if you think about it, we do need both, right? You need the divine feminine to tap into what's happening inside. You listen to your messages, really kind of be open to whatever's coming next. But you need to get some stuff done too, right? So you need to meet in the middle, and the divine masculine is the energy that gets stuff done. So it's really an interesting time, and the shift, because it has been a lot about masculine energy over the last few centuries. And if you feel what's happening inside, you're probably more emotional. You're probably intuitively hearing more stuff, and it's kind of confusing you. If you listen to this podcast, you probably are going through some sort of shift. So this is what we're going to dive in deeper today. And so, Stacey, I'd love to get your take on, when we talk about the divine masculine having an identity crisis and, the shift to divine feminine, what does it mean to you?
It's so interesting because I operate so much in the divine feminine energy and that emotional space, that vulnerable space. And it's made getting in touch with the masculine energy a little bit challenging for me. And I have seen this rise in feminine power and in the energy and the collective. And I'm excited because it's a space that I can really resonate with. But I definitely think that our planet is going through a massive shift. And what used to work for us, the old paradigms that used to work for us, aren't working anymore. People are getting more in touch with who they are and having a strong desire to understand why they're here. And in the awakening process, a lot of us are tapping into that divine feminine energy. And it's bringing us into a space that's very different than what we've known in the past. And I think it's going to be challenging for leadership to come into play in this new scenario, because we're not going to be able to run things in the same way that we have been, because people are awakening. People are awakening and they're getting more in touch with that feminine part of themselves and understanding on a deeper level who they are. And if they don't understand on a deeper level who they are, there's a hunger to understand who they are. And so I'm really feeling like we're going to experience this kind of flip of a switch where things are going to go more into that feminine space, and what used to work for us isn't going to work anymore. And I'm both nervous and excited about it. I'm excited for us to do things differently and to see how that impacts human beings collectively. But I'm also curious to see how relationship dynamics change with this new shift, right? We're going to be more sensitive to each other's emotions. We're going to be more in touch with what's happening to each other and really feeling that. So there's a lot going on for me. I think this is like exciting, but I also think because it's foreign, I think it's going to be new for people to see things in a whole different light. And like I said, it's completely different than the way we've been doing things for so long now that I think for a lot of people, it's going to throw them for a loop.
And it is interesting, right? Because you you talked about switch. I feel like people are waiting for some massive, immediate switch, and the reality is it's going to come over a period of time, right? There's a journey we're on, and you've already felt it, right? What's examples of us shifting from a planetary perspective from divine masculine to divine feminine is all the craziness of the weather. It's all you've already seen some of the big egos, some of the big personalities, starting to crumble. And, it's all of those signs, right? It's that the fall of the traditional power structures, the patriarchal systems, and, all these wars. And I talk a lot about the next year or so. The planet is going through some massive shifts, and there is going to be chaos on the planet, right? There is going to be, I don't wish pain on anybody, but I feel like the planet is going through a massive shift, and that is going to lead to some pain. And it is going to be easy to let the noise on the planet consume you. But we talked about it right here. What's important is balance. Letting the noise on the planet consume you is also a form of escape and not doing the work that's on the internal. So I would just remind you to always check in with your own energy. If you have a question, check in with your guides. How are you feeling? If there's stuff on the news, don't let it consume you, and send love to where it's needed. But also be careful what you watch, right? So be careful. I would not recommend watching a lot of the news. Read about it if you wish, but don't get consumed by watching the news. What are you reading? Who are you talking to? It's really important to kind of spend time with you right now. And, this shift also means more about community. It's also going to be more about conscious leadership, community leadership. I still feel like over the next year, you're going to see a lot of egos, a lot of these egos are trying to hold on to their old version of themselves. So, but also know that a lot of the people on the planet, a lot of the political leaders are playing a role that in some way they need to play to cause chaos on the planet for this planet to shift. Because we're seeing old systems collapse. And essentially this means that what we're seeing is the masculine, the masculine being dismantled. We've been doing this. We've been kind of being masculinely driven on the planet for many centuries. To break that down is going to take time. So that's why you're going to see a lot of pain on this planet. And what does wounded masculine look like in the daily life? You're going to feel it in your physical body. Physical exhaustion. And the best thing to do is to be still. If you're always on the busy, if you're always kind of on the go, then what you're doing is you're running away from the wounded divine masculine. If you're feeling tired, exhausted, really what that means is you're missing the body's signal to look inside, to rest. Needing to do more, always being productive, always on the go. If that's describing you, then that is a sign of a wounded masculine. struggling to show vulnerability or emotion, not really asking for help, always wanting to be in control. That's really what the wounded masculine's around. And, masculine's also around money, and relationship with the divine masculine. So if you're struggling with, your connection with males in your life, look, we all have divine masculine, divine feminine. We all have masculine. So don't mistake us when we talk about masculine and feminine. We're not talking about male or female. We're talking about the masculine and feminine energy inside us. And so if you are struggling with your relationship with money, God of the material plane, or relationship with the masculine in your life, that is again another sign of the divine masculine in you in crisis. So we'll kind of move on to kind of healing the inner masculine in a moment. But again, for me, the switch, I've been kind of feeling the planet's going through a shift for a while. When I talk about being tired and that sort of thing, my physical body has been feeling this shift for a while. So yes, I can relate to being tired. And so for me personally, I have felt the shift. I've felt something coming. I've felt the divine masculine in me kind of shifting away. I guess for a few years now, I've been focused on listening to me on the inside. So maybe I've been preparing for this shift, but I do feel very balanced, I have to say, but I also feel very tired, very drained, and kind of, I feel what the planet's going through. And it really is an interesting time. I'm curious what this phase holds. I will definitely send love wherever I feel is needed. But this really is a time for us to stop and really be honest with ourselves. How do we feel? Look in the mirror and having an honest conversation about, how do we feel about divine masculine? How do we feel about divine feminine? What are parts of us that we're ignoring? What are parts of us that need nurturing, need love? Are we following our intuition? Are we listening to our messages? Or it's really a time to look inward to truly get your answers and not outward. So Stacey, when I talk about divine masculine and everything it means, and kind of divine masculine being in crisis, and I'm curious, what does that mean to you personally?
I think for me, it means that I have even more work to do. Like, I need to understand more about the masculine energy and how it impacts me, and how I can move forward in a healthy way, having balance. I've worked really hard on the masculine energy in my life, and it's been a challenge for me for decades, specifically with my father, which we talked about in a recent episode. And this time for me is a time where I'm recognizing that what for so long was interpreted as a weakness in me is actually a strength. And for so long, being in that feminine energy was seen as a weakness, a vulnerability, an access that people have to you that they might not otherwise have. And I've had to work really hard to kind of mask that. And now all of a sudden, the world is saying, we want to see more of this. We want to see more of this feminine energy. We want to see more of this vulnerability. We want to see more of this sensitivity. We want to see more of this emotion. And so all of those things that I kind of pushed down and didn't allow to come to the surface, now it's like the universe is giving me permission and saying there's never been a better time to show these parts of yourself to the world. So I do feel liberated in a way. And it's it's a little disorienting, because something that I kind of kept protected and safe and close to me, I'm now being told to expose. And I think a lot of us are. I think a lot of people who are sensitive and empathic, who are in touch with that part of themselves, that feminine part of themselves, I think they're being asked to come to the forefront and shine that light brighter. And it's scary, right? Because it's been seen as something that was a weakness for so long for so many of us. And now we're removing that stigma and saying, no, this in this season, this is a superpower, right? And so I really feel like this time is empowering for me. And it is showing me that the parts of myself that I once held close, I don't need to protect anymore. I need to show them to the world. So I'm kind of adapting to that and getting used to that. I think the other part of this is it's helping me to understand more about the masculine energy and how it's impacted me and how to handle it moving forward in a different way than what I have in the past. I kind of cowered to the masculine energy in the past. I would kind of back down, get timid by it. It would make me a little bit nervous. And what I'm finding now is I'm meeting that masculine energy with my feminine and creating a balance that I didn't know could be there. And I think that it's something that we're all trying to achieve. We're trying to be in touch with both parts of ourselves and find that balance. And for so many of us, we've been operating in one space or the other for so long that we're being asked to do something new. And I think that is what's really going to kind of churn people up right now is we're going to be doing life very differently than what we have been for a very, very long time. And are you up for the challenge of doing something different and operating from a different space? And I think a lot of us are going to be really uncomfortable for a period of time as we adapt to this new way of being.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's so true. This period is going to be uncomfortable. And it doesn't matter what phase of your journey you're on, because change is uncomfortable for the human. I mean, everyone says, lots of people say, I love change, but most people would admit they love change when they see it coming. They have an idea of what's coming. This change is really the unknown because we've never been through this, right? It's like, even if you're an old soul, you feel like you've done it all, right? You feel like anything new you try on this planet, you don't get as excited as it is for others. But as a soul, you've never experienced this, so it is going to make you feel uncomfortable. And you are going to feel a shift inside. You know, it's that, as Stacey talked about, it's that uncomfortable feeling. We've all, as we've been through I feel like this cycle started 2018, 2019, pre the COVID lockdown, the rest of it. And it was the beginning of a cycle to really challenge our identity. And while our identity has been challenged over that period, it's been going through a shift. A real life example for me was a couple of years ago when I left the corporate world. That is such a perfect sign for divine masculine to divine feminine. I couldn't stay in that space anymore. I couldn't, we were going through a new budget cycle and I was just like, I can't do this. I need to do what I'm here to do on the planet. That step isn't there for everybody, by the way, but I feel like a lot of people are challenging what they do on a day-to-day basis, what your career is. And, for me, I haven't looked back and I love what I get to do, but what are you being called to let go of in your world? How is your intuition being activated? How is the thing bubbling you, because this phase about healing the inner masculine, I said we'd move on to that. It really is about creating safe internal structures, creating a boundary for yourself to be you. I'm not a huge fan of routines, but having a routine that involves some kind of meditation, some kind of self-care, some kind of, listening to podcast and being in a meditative space or going for a walk, creating a routine where you can have time for you, but not having a routine that actually keeps you stuck. And I feel like a lot of people are going through financial struggles now, and that is It's interesting because money really for me is very masculine. It's the Lord of the material plane, right? It's the God of the material plane. So, but for me, is an energy and a vibration. So the fact that a lot of people are going through financial challenges is also a sign that the divine masculine is struggling. So it's like when you truly start to focus on finding balance within you, that's when you'll find more financial stability. You're taking aligned action where you're balanced, because you need both, right? It's like if you're spending all your time meditating, listening to your guides, but you're not actually taking time to take action on your messages, then that's not really finding balance. Taking action is a masculine trait. So it is that balance between divine masculine, and the other thing is, are you asking for help? Are you allowing people to help you and hold your space? Like what me and Stacey do as mentors, that's exactly what we do. People can reach out for help and we hold their space as they're going through a shift. But looking for communities, looking for mentors, 100%, it is a sign of strength. It's a sign of healing the inner masculine, because the masculine feels like he can do everything on his own, doesn't need help. But recognizing that you need help and asking for it is a huge sign of strength. Being assertive is different to being aggressive. Asking and setting boundaries and standing up for yourself, being assertive with love, is a sign of healing the divine masculine, healing the inner masculine. So if you are feeling more angry at the moment, if you are feeling disconnected, then it's probably true that the inner masculine you is going through some sort of crisis. And the more that you can look at your self-care routine, spend time in nature, time in meditation, time walking, but also, what are your boundaries? Are you allowing other people to drain your energy? Saying no with a smile on your face is the most powerful thing to do. So you're always saying yes to everybody, and that means that you're putting yourself last. Eventually you do that, there's a part of you that slowly starts to die. Showing emotion, allowing yourself to be vulnerable. I love how Stacey's so vulnerable on this podcast. It's one of her superpowers, and she gets frustrated doing it, but it's that. So you just be gentle with yourself. So Stacey, I'm again curious. I'm going to ask you, what have you seen with maybe some of your clients or with you in terms of healing the masculine, allowing the masculine to awaken inside you? What does that mean to you?
I think a huge, huge part of it is finding your voice in whatever way you need to. Finding your voice and using it, I think, is really powerful. I see a lot of clients right now who are going through massive change, okay? Whether it be they're switching career paths, they're going through a divorce or the loss of a partner or a significant other. And I'm seeing people really have a desire to process things on a deeper level than what they might otherwise process them, and really wanting to understand what is happening to them. Like spiritually, how is it impacting them? How is it impacting them emotionally? How are they processing things? And I've seen a lot of people really trying to get in touch with that part of themselves, that spiritual part of themselves that allows them to understand that there's something bigger at play right now. And I think it's a battle of the ego and that masculine energy. I think it's also a faith crisis that a lot of us are in, where we're trying to figure out where to put our energy. And I'm seeing people really come alive when they find their voice. I think for so many, they've been stifled for so long. Like I have a client right now who has been in a narcissistic relationship for like 30 years and finally had the courage to leave the relationship. And now she's trying to process the aftermath of what being in that narcissistic relationship has done to her. And part of that is her finding her voice and being able to advocate for herself like she never has before. And so I'm really seeing people needing a balance of both. I'm seeing people hungry for more and wanting to be more in touch with themselves and in touch with that feminine energy. But I'm also seeing a lot of clients who are finding their voice and tapping into that masculine energy when they need it and they maybe haven't been able to do it. So I'm seeing the impact in a lot of ways in a lot of different scenarios. And I think it's what even further convicts me that this is something that we're seeing universally, because I'm seeing so many people in different situations experiencing similar vibrations. And that is the desire to be more in touch with that feminine energy, to understand more about the masculine energy and how it plays a part in what's happening with them. And across the board, I'm just seeing the shift. Are you seeing it too?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. There's everybody's going through something, right? And everyone's at a different place, and wherever you are is perfect, right? And I always feel with this podcast that people listening say, "Well, they're not really talking to me." And honestly, if you're saying that to yourself, then actually we are talking to you. Probably even more so because, yeah, it's just an interesting time. And Stacey made some really valid points in terms of. I talked a lot about what the impact of the planet. Whatever we talked about on the planet is 100% true for you, and it's that you're going to be going through some sort of identity crisis. It's just and what does that look like? It looks like you challenging different aspects of you, your friend circle getting smaller, the things that used to excite you don't excite you anymore. Some people are, all of us are going to be more connected to our guides, but that's freaking some people out. And I'm seeing all of that. I mean, with clients, it's, the number of breakups, the number of moving, the number of changing careers. This really is a time of shifting. And if you're resisting the shift, then this is where I feel like it's going to get more frustrating and more painful. So the real, as the planet's going through an identity crisis, so are you. And being honest with yourself about how you're feeling about structure and how you're feeling about, your voice, finding your voice. Stacey was talking about finding your voice. But finding your voice isn't about talking aggressively. Finding your voice is about speaking your truth, but speaking it with love. So if you're being surrounded by people who you no longer resonate with, if you're in a career that no longer you feel connected to, then that for me is a sign of a massive shift that's happening inside you. And it doesn't mean you need to blow up your world overnight, but you should challenge yourself in terms of how you're serving on this planet. You should challenge yourself by creating space in your world, by letting go of some souls that no longer hold your space. They always kind of put you down and you have to lower your vibration to be around. You got to create space for new people to come into your world. So this, when we talk about examples of this, we're all going through. I mean, like I said, me personally, I've been feeling tired. I can feel my guides around me so much more. I can feel a shift happening inside me. The human in me wants to know what's coming next. Of course it does. I'm human. But I also know I'm not meant to know. I also know that, even if you're working on yourself, your guides will only show you glimpses of what's coming because it is such a massive shift. It's such an interesting time. It's always good to remind yourself that you chose to be here. You chose to be on this planet. You chose to be part of this massive shift the planet's going through. Ultimately, as we move through this collective rebalancing, your answers are in you. And healing the masculine within you, it's not about shame or blame, because it's like when we're in divine masculine crisis, our ego wants to keep us stuck because it's not a bad thing. Our ego is just trying to protect us. Everyone says kill the ego. I really don't believe we should kill the ego, because I don't think you can, because it's part of who you are. You can't just pick and choose the parts you like. But your ego is trying to protect you. Sometimes you just got to talk to your ego and say, I don't need protecting. You got to take your ego's power away. You got to take your whatever's holding you stuck. The darkness inside you. You got to take its power away, not push it away. Because if you do that, you're just giving it power. This phase is really about remembering who you truly are. When you take action, when you truly meet the universe halfway, from an alignment perspective, the universe will meet you. Your protection, I always love to ask my guides to only allow loving and supporting vibration in. But your protection is love. It's not aggression. We all carry masculine and feminine energies within us. It's not about one or the other. It's really about allowing both to exist and finding balance. One is not better than others. They're partners. You need both. It's like having two kids, only choosing to love one of them. They're all part of you. It's not about choosing between the two, but it's integrating them, allowing a space for both. You're here to lead and act with love and speak your truth and healing. It's like, I feel like a lot of us, the healer in us is being active, which is why in January this year, we added a phase 2 to our mentorship program where we guide people to create their own healing program, their own mentorship program. We could have quite easily taken what we create and put it in a box, but we really wanted people to create their own. What does it mean for them? So that's what's happening right now. Is for so many of us, we feel like we don't belong in our world. We almost feel like aliens in our own world, and it's really interesting. But if you're feeling like that, that means you're going through a shift. It means that there's things happening in you, shifting in you. The more that you can let go, the easier this phase will get. So I guess with this episode, sit with yourself. How does the divine masculine in you feel? Are you trying to control things? Are you letting go? Are you putting boundaries in place that serve you? Are you allowing yourself to focus on you? Your answers are really, in terms of finding balance, are within you. Of course, ask for help. What me and Stacey do is we guide you to truly connect with you and find balance and understand who you are. So we'll help you find balance if that's something you feel that resonates in our voice. But this phase has to be all about you. You have to become your own superhero. You have to prioritize yourself because your light becomes so much brighter when you do. Stacey, how are you feeling about this episode? Anything you want to share before we close? And of course, any general prompts you want to share.
I just want to offer some words of encouragement that if you're not sure where to start in this process of doing things differently, there are resources out there to help you. And Nimesh and I help people like you all the time. Like that's what we do. And we help people on their journey of healing and self-discovery. So if you're facing challenges right now, reach out. We offer a free discovery call, and it'll give you an opportunity to kind of hash out what you're going through, right? And have a sounding board to say, this is what I'm experiencing and I'm not sure how to navigate it. It's okay to not know, but I think that we have a responsibility to figure it out and to do things differently as the world is evolving and we're being called for more. I would really encourage you to tap into your journal at this time. What does masculine energy mean to you? What does that mean? When you think about tapping into the divine feminine, what does that look like? Give yourself some space to write and figure out what you're thinking and feeling about this new season of life. Are you seeing the change in the planet? Are you feeling called to do something differently? Are you feeling prompted to show up in the world a little bit differently? Are you being called to be vulnerable? This is a time to really turn inward and really feel what's happening around you and what the message is. I believe when we take this time to better ourselves, we can only come out the other side with more awareness. And when we're more aware, that's when we can spark change. So I really encourage you to take the time to dig deep in your journaling and see what comes up.
I love it. Great advice. And The other thing, as both me and Stacey are saying, looking internally, the thing to also bear in mind is that your guides, the universe, will also give you clues externally. So, who are you struggling in your world with? Who are you not feeling in alignment with? And what does that mean to you? Because it could mean a couple of things. One is those people no longer belong in your life. Also gives you clues on where you need to work. So if the masculines in your world are causing you crisis, then that's a clear sign that you need to work on your divine masculine energy. Like I said, I feel like we're all going through some sort of identity crisis, and check in with your masculine and feminine to find out really where it's happening. Where in your life are you still operating from the wounded masculine? And by the wounded masculine, I mean that person that's trying to control, that person that gets angry, that person that is always agitated, doesn't like spending time with themselves. All signs of a wounded masculine. And what sacred action could you take now? And the sacred action could include spending time in nature, spending time with you. And what does a balanced relationship between inner feminine and masculine really look like in you? What does it feel like in your body and your choices in energy? Check in with your own energy and if you just close your eyes and just feel the divine masculine energy. How does it feel? Feel the divine feminine. How does it feel? This is a really powerful time on the planet. I always love reminding people that you chose to be here. You're part of the plan. You're part of the solution. You're needed. You wanted. If you listen to this episode, then your power, your energy, the healer in you is needed on this planet. And accepting that I'm a healer actually really allowed me to shift. So maybe the same's for you. If you're feeling the healer energy in you, then maybe it's time to accept that your light is needed on this planet. And that's the perfect time to reach out to us, by the way, because that's what we do. Stacey, I love spending this time with you, and I feel like between us, we hold each other's space, and we allow ourselves to shift through this. And this is also what I'm saying is ask for help, ask for support from the universe, create space in your world for new people. This is the time for you to create your community too. They will help. Because another sign of divine masculine to divine feminine is the rise of the community. Your community is going to be such a big part of this next phase. The phase we've just been in has been very lonely. Like we felt like we're on our own, that nobody's here to help us, nobody understands us. The phase we're moving into is really about community and allowing other people to hold your space. No one's going to fully understand your story because it's unique to you. But other people will be able to empathize, hold your space as you go through a shift. And so, Stacey, I'm going to hand it over to you. Anything you want to share that's in your heart as we close out? Over to you.
I just want to encourage our listeners to embrace this season. This is such a powerful time of transition and healing that if you really choose to better yourself and move forward in a positive way, this can be a powerful part of your awakening journey and getting you to see things in a whole different light. I really hope that today's episode has brought about some new ways of thinking for you. Please reach out to us. We love hearing from you. Let us know what you think about this episode. Again, Nims, it's a powerful time for us to be together, and I'm so grateful for this time with you and the fact that we get to use our voices to help other people. What a great episode.
Yeah, again, Stace, thank you. And I guess just a reminder, if there's any topic you want us to cover, please DM us. We always love those ideas, and last few episodes have really come from feeling the energy, and also the last two before this came from client suggestions. So do reach out to us if there's any topic you'd like us to cover. This is a sacred time. This is a time the planet is really shifting. This is a time for you to trust you. So I encourage you to do something that truly lifts your soul and allows you to be. Spend time in nature, spend time with you. This is really a time to get to know you. Sending everyone so, so much love and light and wishing you all the best. Sending lots of love and light out. Bye for now.